So, from the reading, I realized just how codependent higher education is to both the federal government and the state government. Both of these government entities almost resemble parents, in the institutions being children and the institutions trying to, perform at their best so that they can get that attention. The attention being, funding for research and just for initiatives and services for students. And so, in that scenario, everything is very performance based. And in my opinion, that can be very superficial, because you want, high graduation rates and X amount of numbers for this program in terms of success. And so, it's easy to lose that personal touch and that and staying on track with one's mission at the institution when everything's about the money. And given that I work in admissions, I can kind of see that sometimes where we want to meet this goal for this year, this enrollment goal, and I think it's just because of just the amount of pressure that's coming um, from outside, sources like the state, like, hey, you know, we have X amount of funding. Where's your success in what we have given you? But it's really hard for a state to really put that pressure on an institution when there's just a massive amount of people pursuing a degree. And so for me, it's like, how do you create something so personal for every student when there's just so many individuals coming in? And so um, it's almost like the McDonald effect. There's just so many McDonald's everywhere that it's becoming more accessible for people, which is really great. We all need degrees. We can all relate. But I think we need to do a better job in terms of, like, for example, making sure that we're actually doing a service for a student versus just taking them in no matter what their background is and their readiness for college. And so I'm a big proponent of students, they need that gap year, go for it, because do you really want to invest in an institution because that's what society, says that that's what you should do to be successful? And so I think if we, as a collective whole within higher education, um, sort of realize the importance of not working with that pressure in the background, we wouldn't have, student dropping out from institutions, because there's been instances where we admit students who aren't really ready and they fail and then they owe all this money. And so I think, whereas before it used to be more like a privilege, only individuals who can afford it can receive an education. But now with federal funding and FAFSA, it's become a lot easier for everyone, which is great. You're giving that opportunity to everyone. But I think now we reached the point where it's become a little bit more overwhelming, and it's not a matter of blaming the situation on just the amount of people that are pursuing an institution, but also blaming it and sort of trying to modernize our institutions and our initiatives, and what degree programs actually make sense to have at an institution. So the federal government and state government is there. State government provides the legal framework for how an institution should function, and the federal government provides that funding to the individual so that they can go to school. But I think, um, as a trio, there needs to be talks about collaborating and seeing how they can, um, you know, create a united mission for providing or revamping certain programs, or eliminating across the board programs that aren't really needed, which can also spark debate because there's people who go to specific schools to study particular programs. I read an article about certain colleges eliminating German, and students protesting that, and all of that goes down to budgets. Do we really need this program? But students are like, yeah, we really want the program. So it's a lot of reading. It was very intricate. You can go in so many conversations and loopholes, but I just think now with how we are and just the amount of people that are in institutions, it's important that um, there's an overall sort of standard that's easily met and it's not, superficial and just performance based.